Hey, good morning, everybody. Peter Kima. It is Friday, I think. It's 8:30. It is time for Coffee Talk with Kima. We're sitting in a little different venue today. Still home of the Kima Real Estate Group. Actually, my home within the Kima Real Estate Group. We continue to practice social distancing. We continue to keep the office closed, but we continue to try to show up every Friday for you in an effort to try to kind of keep it light, airy, and maybe bring you a little bit of real estate information at the same time. But this morning, I raised my Kima cup to you, and I hope you've got yours. If you don't have one, let me know. Glad to get you one. But I raised my Kima cup to you, and let's get started here this morning. Got a lot of fun things to talk about. And again, I'm very grateful for all of you that continue to come. Hey, Lisa, good morning to you too. Lisa, my buddy sitting right here helping us. There he is. Hey, good morning, Mom. I know you're on. You're always on. I appreciate you being here. All right, so lots to talk about today. One of the biggest things, by the way, the noise you hear in the background, we have a coffee grinder, one of those ones that you actually grind by hand. And Jennifer, with the impeccable timing, knows that we go on at 8:30 every week now for almost 2 years, waits until right at 8:30 to grind her coffee. Mind you, this might be the first time we've ever done this. Nonetheless, John, let me apologize in advance for not being on early this morning with you to give you grief. Just know I was thinking about it. All right, so one of the big things that happened this week, guys, haircuts happened in our house. We started looking like a 80s hair band around here, and that's not necessarily the look we go for in the Kima house. And so yesterday, I gave Kim. Excuse me one second. Hey, can we have silence in the green room? You guys are on in a little bit. A little bit. Sorry, guys. Special guest possibly later. Anyhow, listen. So we had haircuts, and the haircuts went really well for about 50% of us. So I gave Camden a haircut. He's 12, for those of you that don't know, and Camden gave me a haircut. And he's earned another shot. He's going to give me another haircut in a couple of weeks. But let's just say I'm going to raise my cup this morning to all of you out there that cut hair for a living. It is nowhere near as easy as it looks. It took me, I don't even know how long we spent on Camden's hair now. I will tell you that I was nervous about cutting it because, you know, you can't put hair back once you cut it off, right? It's kind of like adding salt to a recipe. Once it's in, it's in. But his haircut, by all accounts, I posted some pictures of it yesterday. By all accounts, I think came out pretty good, right? It saved us a bunch of money, certainly a big tip. Not that we don't want to support our local businesses, but it was nice to save a few bucks. And then he gave me my haircut. A little bit later on this morning, I'm going to reveal my haircut for you. We did have to do a little bit of cleanup at the end for him, but overall, I think he did an okay job for a first time out. Anyhow, what are you doing for haircuts? Those of you that get your haircut regularly, what are you doing for haircuts? See, I grew up in a town. I grew up in an awesome little town named Orange, Massachusetts, and there was a barber there named Johnny O'Leary. And Johnny O'Leary used to cut my grandfather's hair. Then he cut my dad's hair. Then he cut my hair. Haircuts were $5 when I was a kid. Heck, they were $5 when I was an adult going in there. The nice thing about Johnny's is in the back, he always had a little card table set up. There's always a cooler full of beer. When I was 10, 11, I'd go in there, and he'd give me a few cents, and I'd run down to the store, and I'd grab myself a soda and grab a newspaper for the shop and coffee for whatever guys wanted coffee. Right next door to a little place called Cumberland Farms. And then I'd go back into the barber shop, and I'd learn all about how to solve the world's issues from all these old New Englanders sitting around in a barber shop. And they were so good to me because, you know, in a small town like that, everybody knows everybody. Johnny was the kind of barber, though, that would, in the middle of a haircut, there are legendary stories. If he saw a pretty girl walking across the street, he'd leave you in the chair, go out there and chat her up for about 20 minutes while you sat in the chair. Johnny was a legend, a hell of a good baseball player, and some good stories there. Then his son Timmy took the shop over and continued on that tradition, cutting everybody's hair. So I want to tell you a short story about that. So my grandfather Ziggy, who I'm going to talk about in a second, he tells a story about going in, and my grandfather was very, very particular, and he would go in and get his hair cut. And when the transition was happening, he'd go in, and Johnny would be out of the shop, and Timmy would say, "Why don't you jump in the chair, Zig? I'll give you a haircut." He said, "No, I'll wait for Johnny." So he'd leave, come back next day. He said, "You know, come on, sit in the chair. I'll give you a haircut." He said, "No, I'm going to wait for Johnny." Come back next day. Finally, on the third day, my grandfather finally sat down in the chair. Timmy did such a good job, nobody ever else cut his hair again. The best part about that story is this: when my grandfather was in his last few days and was still living in his house, Timmy would go up and make personal house calls and cut his hair. So I channeled my inner Johnny O'Leary and Timmy O'Leary yesterday to do the very best I could at cutting cams here. But I do miss the fact that my kids don't have that same small town local barber. Everybody knows each other experience. And I was able to get my kids there for one haircut prior to Timmy passing on. And so I got to share that, but they never got the full benefit of a small town local barbershop. We'd sneak in the back and have a couple of beers. And, you know, it was just a really neat place. Anyway, so what are you doing for haircuts? Good morning, Donna. Good to see you. Good morning, Christina. I'm glad all you guys are here. Keith, good to see you, my friend. Jared, good to see you as well. So it's been a Zoom call, man. Oh my goodness, has it been a Zoom call track out, right? I'm continuing to call this a track out because we're all going to track back in here at some point. Are you using Zoom on a regular basis? My wife has her first Zoom call today. Can you believe that? Her very first one. I can't get over it. I just can't get over the fact that there's people out there that still aren't using Zoom. Are you using Zoom with any regularity right now as part of your business or just part of your family? The reason I asked that, Chad, good morning to you, buddy. I appreciate that, man. Hey, but if you're not using Zoom, I encourage you to do so. You don't have to use it for work. And I'll give you an example. A fraternity brother of mine got a bunch of us together for beers the other night on Zoom, and I talked to guys I haven't talked to in 15 years, some in 20 years, and it was just great to get caught up with a bunch of fraternity brothers. I had another friend of mine talk about how she's got 30 first cousins, and they all get together regularly, and they play video or board games and different things online. And I just think that that's a pretty cool way to stay in touch. So if you're not using Zoom, check it out, guys. It's free, and it's a neat way to you know, it's the next best thing to be in there, right? If we can't give each other a high five and kind of hang out a little bit, it's really the next best way in my mind. So give it a shot if you're not doing that already. Happy Easter Friday to all of you guys. Good Friday to you. Easter's on Sunday, and for those of you that celebrate Easter and it's a big part of your life, I'm thinking and praying for you this weekend. It's going to be the most odd Easter I think we've had in an awful long time, for sure. Today must be a day about traditions because it comes to mind right now. Again, having grown up in New England, I had an aunt and uncle who still live in West Springfield, Massachusetts, down by the Basketball Hall of Fame. And they have the most beautiful little house, and there's a park across the street. And we go down there for Easter Sunday. And the flowers would be it's about an hour south of where we grew up. And so the flowers would be ahead of schedule just a little bit. Excuse the sun. I don't know. We may have to actually move here in a minute. But we'd go down there and we'd have traditional New England Easter Sunday meal. And we'd have fresh kielbasa and ham. And she would make homemade pierogies. And it was just this really special time. The best part to me was going across the street after dinner with my dad to get ready for baseball tryouts, which were inevitably within a week or two. And I'd always, always go out there with my dad, and I'd take ground balls and fly balls and what have you. And man, I missed those days an awful lot. But it was a lot of fun. My dad would go out there, and he for an hour would sit out there and just hit me ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, and it was an awful lot of fun. And this week, Camden's decided to grab his baseball glove again. He's taken some time off and taken some time down since this coronavirus thing hit. He was knee-deep into middle school baseball prior to that. And we went outside and played catch a couple of times. And the most recent time was pretty special. If you've seen it, if you follow me here on Facebook, you saw a picture of it, or on Instagram. He was out there playing. We were talking about my grandpa Ziggy earlier, who you can tell is a pretty important person in my life. Camden was out there and he played catch with my grandpa's glove. Now, he did admit that there's very little padding left in that old glove, and it's from the early 1930s, best we can guess. It's a Hall of Famer version. It's a Joe Medwick glove. For those of you that are baseball historians, Joe Medwick's a Hall of Famer now, or then. It was just fun to go out there and play catch. If you've got a son or a daughter and they're into sports, I encourage you, go out and kick the ball back and forth a little bit. Play a little bit of catch. Listen, there's so much to do right now. It's hard to find 5 minutes to stop and go enjoy those kind of things. But the couple of times we've played catch, even for just a few minutes that it was, just the sound and smell of that ball popping into the mitt, and just watching how much my son has grown as a ball player, just seeing how live his arm is now, pretty exciting. And I'm ready for the world to return to normal, to see him back out on the diamonds again. And I know you guys are as well. I know you guys are ready to get your lives back in order and get going too. But I'd encourage you, find a few minutes today if you have a son or a daughter or whatever, get a couple of shots up in the driveway, or kick the soccer ball back and forth, or pick up the baseball, the softball, whatever it may be, and go enjoy a few minutes of that. and then post a picture of it, guys. Enjoy that. Let's post stuff like that. Let's leave some of these nasty memes and all the politics alone. Politics wise, a big announcement this weekend, or this week rather, with Joe Biden being the candidate now on the Democratic side. So we know we've got Biden versus Trump. It's going to be an interesting election cycle, regardless of what side of the equation you fall on. I don't care. It's going to be an interesting election cycle because we're going to be doing things differently again. But now that we know, it'll be very interesting to line up the two sets of policies and leadership and just figure out where this thing brings us. But it's going to be an interesting few months for sure. Speaking of memes, I just mentioned leaving the memes off and posting more pictures of family, doing fun things like that, right? But there is one meme out there right now that it's a question people are posting on a regular basis. It's mostly real estate agents, and I'm going to ask it here, and I encourage you, give me an answer to this. Based on what you're going through right now with the coronavirus and being stuck in your home, what is the one must-have in your next home? What's the one thing your next home must have? There's a lot of answers, and some people are saying a swimming pool. Some people, what is the next most important thing that's going to be, or the most important thing that's going to be in your next home, rather, let me say that correctly. For me, guys, it's hard pressed to beat having some sort of a four-season porch where you can open up these windows and sit out there and enjoy, because it's spring here in North Carolina, and the birds are just chirping, really enjoying that. I may have to move here. Let's slide over a little bit, get out of that sun. Anyhow, so tell me, what is it that's most important for you? What's going to be in your next home? Good morning, Marianne. I love you, kid. But yeah, I'd be curious. Let's talk a little bit about real estate. First thing I want to tell you is I took my last continuing education course for the year this week online at Brian Payne. As you know, they're allowing us to do those things online now. If you are a real estate agent in North Carolina, anywhere in North Carolina, and you're looking for a great place to take your online real estate courses, I can't say enough good things about Brian. There's other great teachers out there, and I know a bunch of them. Brian's as good as it gets, guys, because he makes it entertaining. It's fun. It's interactive. It's not like being in class with Brian, but it's pretty darn close. Brian Pate seminars, if you still have CE to take, I've got another course I'm going to take to get ahead of CE for the next year on the 22nd. Come join me in that class. Look at his website. You'll see it. It's it's an elective. I forget which elective it was, but please come see that. But yeah, if you haven't taken your real estate continuing education just yet, do so, and do so quickly. The market. I'm getting questioned all the time. How's the market where you are? What does the market look like? What are you telling sellers? And guys, I think this is where being transparent and being truthful is the most important thing we do, right? And so I tell people all the time, I don't own the houses that I sell. I don't own any of those things. Anything that we sell and get paid on, we don't own. What we do is we try to bring good value, and we try to bring you honesty. But the one thing we do own is a little white pocket card that sits on my wallet that says his reputation is clean enough to sell real estate in the state of North Carolina. And so we protect that very, very much. That reputation is the most important thing we own, right? And in doing so, my answer right now to people is we don't know. We just don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. If I had a crystal ball in 2008, man, we wouldn't be sitting here today, right? We'd be sitting on a coast of Maine or wherever it may be, but we wouldn't be sitting here doing this, right? The crystal ball that everybody hopes that somebody else has doesn't exist. Now, we can make our best guess projections, right? So right now, what we're telling sellers, and this is our position, is get your house on the market if you haven't done so already, because when this thing turns, it may turn quickly. If it turns quickly, you're going to be in an advantage because you'll have had your house out on the market. People can see it. And as buyers start becoming more serious about buying again, you'll already be ready to go. You'll be product that's out there versus somebody who doesn't start the process of getting their house ready, getting photos, getting videography, measurements, all those kind of things that need to be done. If you're waiting until this thing turns back around and opens up again, you're going to be joining the market with just so many other people. We believe there's going to be an inventory boom coming at the end of this thing. I listen to a lot of different people. I talk to a lot of different people. And here's my best guess on where we're going. The longer that we are practicing social distancing, the more impact it's going to have on the real estate market. If we go back to work in the next 21 to 30 days, let's say 3 to 4 weeks, if we go back to work in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I believe there'll be minimal impact on the real estate market. The real estate market this time around is not the reason that we're having the financial struggles that we're having, right? In 2008, it certainly was. Now, there are other forces obviously at play, and the real estate market was healthy prior to, and I believe it's going to be healthy post this. The longer we wait and the longer it takes for us to get Americans back to work, though, the bigger impact it will have on the market. And there will be an impact. Don't kid yourself. There will be some sort of an impact on the market. Our message to sellers right now is please continue to be patient. We've got showings today on houses, guys, and we're doing as many virtual showings as we possibly can. We're not meeting any clients on site. I met a client on site the other day. I walked to the door. I opened the door. I stepped away and stepped outside. They went in. They came back out. I wiped down the door handles, locked it up, and that's kind of the way we're doing things right now, right? So I'd encourage you to be very, very careful out there. We got a really cool listing that went live yesterday. I want you to check it out. It's 303 High Street up in Oxford. I normally don't promote my listings on Coffee Talk if you watch with any regularity. But this one's cool. It's got a hidden trap door to the right of the fireplace in the living room that leads to the master bedroom. So just a little secret entrance. And it's an old 1940s ranch-style home that has neat little features like that. So if you get a chance, check out 303 High Street. We're going to do some promotions on it today. So if you want to wait and come back here and check it out later, you can. But we did some video work on it. You'll see it. You'll see it. It's pretty neat. Last thing I'm going to ask you before I do the big reveal of the haircut is, and Jennifer and I had this conversation last night, what's the coolest thing? Dan Tilley, how are you, buddy? Hey, if you guys need to hire a musician to do a little acapella stuff for you with a really cool genre of music, my buddy Dan Tilley is fantastic. You want a bigger deck, Chad? Dude, it snows up there from like October until April. You don't need a deck. Come on, man. Screened-in porch. I'm with you, Lisa. I want mine to be 4 seasons, though. 4 seasons. Chad, I expected like an indoor basketball court or something from you. So, coolest thing you've seen in a house ever. What's the coolest feature you've ever seen in any home, whether it be on TV or otherwise? I'm going to share mine with you. There's a house in North Raleigh it's this enormous house, and I won't get into the history of it, but suffice it to say, it's almost 20,000 square feet. The pool in the backyard has a swim-up bar and a cabana and all these things, and it's enormous, and I mean enormous pool, overlooking these fields full of deer. But the coolest part is it also has an indoor pool. It connects to the outdoor pool, and there's like boulders and rocks everywhere, and you can swim from the indoor pool to the outdoor pool by swimming under some of the rocks and right to the outside. So you can go from the sauna to the pool to the outdoor bar, all with just one quick dip in the pool. To me, the coolest thing I've seen in person. I really, really thought that was neat. But tell me, what is your very best? Tracy Gilmore, good morning. Good to see you. I hope things are good for you back home. Anyhow, that's what I've got for you this week, guys. Here it is. Here's the big reveal. Camden and I, again, for those of you that joined late, Camden and I gave each other haircuts yesterday. For those of you that watch me on here, you saw Camden's haircut. I got a lot of compliments. It took a long time, but I think we did okay there. I only showed you the good side. The other side, So Cam, at 12 years old, had the courage to go ahead and get after this. Now, we had to do some cleanup, and somebody told me yesterday, you know what the difference between a great haircut and a bad haircut is? 2 days, right? Because hair grows back so quick, at least mine does. But here it is. Ta-da! Not too bad. He went pretty short. He went pretty consistent. But, you know, not too bad. Very reminiscent of my high school days. I think the hairline was a lot further down back then. Anyhow, so that's my haircut this week. I appreciate everybody being here. I'm grateful for all of you. Send me your questions. Let me know what you want to talk about next week, and we'll do it again. I appreciate y'all. Take care.